break the high line of Barcelona. But now high line synchronization was wrong. Now coordination is top. It's who say actually offside be brave. Mbappe alone, he was caught about 7 times offside. It's actually say to my friend Barcelona on that day there. Now the offside trap was fantastic. Now what the Super Copa anymore. Oman to me impose on the game P because in the first half they had just 36% of the possession. Barcelona dominated Omunina. And in the second half, because of Barcelona the red card in Temunti, and almost switch mid block and low block, they were not afforded that space now back line now no more expect to say to me. But and then a bit different because Barcelona past 4 games, I highlighted the weakness in their defensive setup. Teams nibi to sell Laganes, all those were mini, Mallorca, all those were mini, Celta Vigo, all those were mini, Dortmund or Rini, but Omunina showcase these weaknesses in the Barcelona setup. And Sub Madrid for 2 times Oman to me taking advantage in there. The third time there, maybe they will try and take advantage of that defensive situation now. Barcelona echo true and me church or no man. Team a friend of Real Madrid for Ebe, they'll try pushing players in between the lines with Ceballos and Tchouaméni. Ebe to me use omu progressive passing ability, locating Bellingham in between the lines because Barcelona system so finding a player between the midfield line and the forward line. Again, very easy to break through the high line. And we are back. Make sure say Real Madrid for Real Madrid so putting players in the half spaces. And no be creating a 2v1 against Barcelona fullbacks, and these 2v1s, and how Barcelona power. It is a ball never wing no draw out Barcelona fullback, now the whole half space, I'm an underlapping run through the half space, not to me about to move. Say you rub Barcelona box, a low cross across the face of goal, and a simple tapping. For an equal Celta Vigo for goal, no I'm saying the same thing, and another also for an equal Benfica. The same thing and now omoye or park no so it's a choice say some of normal way teams in Real Madrid for ebe ombe use omo 1v1 abilities against Barcelona fullbacks no because of senior Barcelona defensive system no etie omo press from out to in it dey be when gets no inside omo to mean track it back and mama bu omo fullback it is so isolated Barcelona fullback 1v1 against a winger the quality no wasura Obetumi have Barcelona for no winger yepa and one side on bet targeting a left back because of the absence of Alejandro Balde and make a deep runs and want some Yebehun some Mbappe baby, Yebehun some Rodrigo baby, Yebehun some Bellingham baby. These are the things we are expecting Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid say Obetumi no matter taking advantage of Barcelona for a defensive setup no. And I'm sure the last 2 games Barcelona for no so dia omo taking advantage of Real Madrid for a defensive setup no. Omo overloaded the central areas. No more attracting Real Madrid for an inside. Omo say BS space in the Alejandro Balde and Lamine Yamal also more wings no to use their 1v1's abilities and omo crossing abilities for wide area. Because of say omo packing numbers no one fifth one inti. There be a momunya that overload in the midfield area and almost say a fluid in the midfield areas. This are passing game in the midfield no. A deliberate say yeah draw omo yes. Now space now better wins. Yeah, draw so ben 15 so your numbers will 15 and you perceive a penetrative block no through the midfield. That is Hansi Flick the philosophy back on no. O penetrative block no through the midfield a better way of manipulating a block rather than penetrating through the wide area. But o penetrative through midfield now we have more numbers. And when the man counter attack in you no. And nothing na de biano so what Barcelona ball this season. Omulusu bono man counter press pe was a counter attack and a dangerous counter attack because numbers no trying to go through the midfield of a block no they be a here more numbers and with these more numbers means more bodies it's a malinka play no a fast a smoother there is a passing option at the Matima your friend Barcelona in the midfield area and omu movements inside fluid. And these fluid movements, no, me ma with the counter movements and also the double movements. Ubo se obi a dragi obi, e de ben fifi no obi de America fetch. That is the counter movement. Yeah. Me drop here famechi, me drop here famechi. Yeah. That is the counter movement. And a ma double movement ni bi. So double movement, o puli midfield and another defender ne ba. Now side the America, wow side the America ko fanechi. In the counter movement, he involve 2 players. Mimi puli a wo from echi. Double movement one player betumi aye. Ono adrage wa no asadi America abefu echi. Mama a typical example the Vinicius Junior edi ye Kim Min-jae last season no. That is a typical example of double movement. It is a movement wey be and Barcelona for the year omudi hurt team a friend Real Madrid the pa. And the last thing I'm kind Barcelona creating artificial transitions. Makacho say transitions no the normal transition here the won kura ball opponent in a kura ball or olusu ball na wafa no akwa ball counter attack. That is the normal transition in him. But when you also say the word fufu be ababata, that is the artificial transition. And no one will crab on, and our person will create counter attacks and hence the flick because of the verticality now opening. A bomb Barcelona for no a create counter attack, especially from their build up. It is a Real Madrid 40% almost so no year. So to me a press ye. Now almost allow Barcelona much spaces in between omo lines no. Send about Barcelona for and hit you more on the transitions. That artificial transitions now boss play on creating.
And pressing now oka ho asem no. Pressing no idea necessary say that oka no. Say betimi counter Barca for omo
yes.
Omo a plan no.
One pressing here the on be creating.
Madrid players no in recent games and I say in El Clasico games are also recent times no.
Omo pressing.
Do they press enough?
Omo pressing. Omo pressing.
Aya kwadro na say omo feel big to press.
Aya kwadro na say the system coach no so nkyere omo se na yeso omo siye no. Because Vinicius lead pressing and the body orientation kranye. Vinicius lead pressing and the body orientation ye. Ese coach na akere no. Body orientation ye ni say. My body orientation ni say. Kevin run ni say. Bendo run ni say. Ye kwa player no team na akwasha ha. Aha na de pressing trigger na ato. Na it's simple. Bakalo Ancelotti entry players nisa. It's a happy players.
Enya style ntina on timi on trainer na. Enya style.
Bakalo Ancelotti who press high. Mako say football no opo so press high. Obi enu wa nipa ne build up and now hwe no man build basa. Because now football it is all about patterns. So jam me build up ba me patterns ni pie.
Yeah.
It just so stopping me say me to me use these patterns. And that's when they say, either say, Obekwa in a low block pumping, and I say, Obekwa in a high press. You cannot be caught between a low block and a high press. And a Rafragni can say, or say, to me, you're half pregnant. One will be also or you're pregnant, but you're pregnant. And not Rafragni can high press and high press and I won't call.
That's I guess a militia.
Simple as that.
Like a soldier, but not a soldier.
Not a soldier. That is the problem with Real Madrid. It be my example. For now, Barcelona show the last 2 goals, now artificial transitions. Artificial transitions now Barcelona created because of the poor pressing of Real Madrid. And I'm some more example against our Super Cup and 5-2. No, that 5th goal now Barcelona share and also artificial transition. It will show now because as Barcelona about counter attack, but no crab ball. But no find the way or they ball counter attack. So pressing in just spaces they will kill you with these spaces. But my question no more about you be na yen fancy minsi. Real Madrid is share Barcelona be these 2 matches. Omo build up on these 2 matches. Barcelona no Real the previous ones no. Real Madrid for build up on the enye. Na ma ko yen hwe graph ya e da Facebook yi so. We first match na kwaso at the Santiago Bernabeu. Courtois oye keeper no oye involved in the build up no ni progressive passes and that so no the length of the passes ni nyina a long balls social passes na ni nyina a long balls
that's a few very few
na short passes it's a choice say Barcelona forced suffocate Real Madrid with the one high pressing.
You are forced to play long ball.
You are forced to play long balls. You be forced to say long ball or press wa. So one anya butre nkura ball no. Barcelona pressing no. Me say Barcelona pressing no. Against Inter Milan, me ba be chirem. Any kwaya Inter Milan for no. So mu fluidity ni betumi ha Barcelona pressing no. Ye to me police center back the neighbor wide area na DM. Pedri any gina center back.
Due to the
pressing structure, a out to in. Fullback by pressing fullback. It is a fullback pressing fullback. I want to a far winger. Barcelona centre back etuba hunu na Raho and in a wide area mama nhwa na memfa image bi and send you 05 cc say me hu ni cc
Angel
05 ma send you ma cc ni hwe image no obehu Barcelona for pressing
live on Facebook yeah Angel FM Kumase 96
so nya botre kura ball no every Barcelona first wave of pressing mu it is done we so free Barcelona first wave of pressing this is the pressing when they say center backs in 50 that is Dion the DM center backs no and eba wings no Kubasi na wide area this was against Dortmund
yeah Pa Kubasi
and eba wide area no but Real Madrid problem ne say o press your mo no mo ball long ball
that's omun to me
withstand the pressure
yeah
omun to me withstand the pressure to pressing na no ball long ball and no tina Courtois first match no the progressive passes no o fa fi enko progressive pass ni bi any nyina a long ball no we yes set here Barcelona meaning say you are continuously turning possession over to Barcelona o turning possession over to Barcelona there no be you okura ball na
possess ya akreti
abeshow yeah this is one key problem at Madrid for the FAC of connect image na had there against the Super Copa no ye nyina ni say kan Ancelotti be sa asesa bibi because first match no you press on na ball no bim second match ka why variation bi no variation Marco do the same build up same long ball
short pass
ni nyina long
balls
and the Super Copa no Barcelona for third goal was as a result of Courtois long no Madrid front line no nyina under 6 feet Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo they are not picking area balls over Barcelona for defensive line no it will boy na Vinicius ni Araujo and I match up no and Araujo pima Kunde small ball in the Rafinha and no heady ball ni share it is about Real Madrid for ni PBB every game ni ma Hansi Flick we ni den obe press it will press wa pe kwan bi so nebo free pressing Ahana Ceballos ni Tchouameni e be very important e dey Real Madrid because omu mienu no omu had the ability say ombetumi ekura ball no particularly Ceballos and obey indispensable for team and friend Real Madrid Football Club. Eti Barcelona pressing in the debia it is designed to suffocate. They are the best pressing side in Spain. Omo de ombe press pass by defensive action in nam 6. Omo force high turnovers bebre. Eti yes one happen kwan bi so e di free pressing him. Eti kura ball no nya abotre na ebo through omo pressing. Obo through omo pressing there what to me awie omo. That is the first point.
Yes, I know. Start with being comfortable
on the ball.
On the ball, yeah.
Why you comfortable on the ball na maku? Why you mistake na sa bo shade o maku? Because once the ball, they almost send him counter attack in the ball.
Okay.
I know that Hansi Flick at the Barcelona team no, they are dynamic. Marco, Ancelotti person about 4 midfielders.
Finally.
Yes. The team of person about 4 midfielders no. 05 my first image near had. So and Real Madrid about Ceballos, about Tchouameni, about Bellingham, about Valverde. Omo percentage no of winning said that 40% I me pushy at the 50%.
The difference anyway.
Because of defensive stability with the midfield 4. Oshe image ya. Tchouameni na ADM now oko follow player Atletico Madrid player no. Beni kwanza kwa ne follow no. Esa ka winger na ono wo se 4 ne ntanta no ho no. Eye 4-4-2 na di defender. Eti 2 na 150 na pivot. Mo ntanta no ho no. Mo na mo boa a protected central areas because block no esa compact and narrow. But Real Madrid problem in the same. Say what the Bellingham koka Mbappe who as the front two are. Meaning say Rodrigo ni Vinicius na better ntanta no 4 no ho. And these two players Makudo omu defensive ability net say and can Vinicius Junior.
On defensive
duty bia. Etu hwe image ya. We no Rodrigo apie and a passing lane abie ediama ATM player no. Eti Tchouameni and edi ATM player nechi. Eti now you are dragging Tchouameni from the center. Eti ATM player be betumi abegina abeje. That is the problem. But obo Ceballos. Obo Abate Feno Tchouameni as the double pivot. Now flanking omo with Bellingham and Valverde. Meaning say ombe work off the ball. It's 05 year corner speech and here DB. Oba would say in the Super Copa. Marco Bacho Oshe image dinya. Ka 4-4-2 ni ka say it here. Rodrigo near on the right, Vinicius on the left. Now come out to me aboa are protecting the central area. 05 ko nim biom near here there. Next picture. Oba would say Abrante friend Rodrigo goes. Vinicius Junior and that surround. Marco do Vinicius aka so phone him baby ogina. Enti aka ni pass
just space bebree.
With just space bebree wo ho.
I want to cheat.
With just space bebree wo ho. Se Gavi na half space ma. Vinicius one now blocking that half space pass no. But Vinicius ni ho wakokem. It is the same made for na beka 3. Rodrigo no so 05 ko atini ha de. Rodrigo no so na adwuma ne say because of say Rafinha constantly all dragging Lucas Vazquez no. But the Ekwan Bada Homan, that is the left back, and then Omobi, but the Mobi. Sajaran Matthews, a hectare fort in a baba, Ekwan Bada Homan, Sarquine, when you bet your Sarquine, and you are so left in that is Rodrigo Goes. But Rodrigo Goes on your defender. Now, when there's no any so. But all the Bellingham Kwasaho, and now particularly Valverde Kwasawa, meaning it's South to Chronotia. Because over that engine, say you're dragging Vasquez or Diemri Kabako could just South to Chrono. Now momentarily, Real Madrid for defended with the back 5. I prevented that 5v4 now. Barcelona front line benya over their back line.
Okay.
It's Real Madrid for both with 4 midfielders. I think say it increases their chances of winning because of their terrible out of possession. I best strengthen that terrible out of possession because 2 workaholics are omoya flanked by physical double pivot. Or bois. To me are protecting the central areas to me are follow runners now a befifa sa areas one and I think say these are 2 key things.
Interesting.
I think say boss player a very important but Barcelona lusu bad ni Lewandowski
yeah.
Angel
what the hectare for to boha man could do
a big challenge
omun tese bad the progressive carries obeye bad ne ekura wings no send be Rafinha Mumbebe inside oba inside and no using the runs in behind no. Now say only one of the Gerard Martin Koba progressive carries Hector Fort progressive carries. Now Hector Fort no crowd Bobby Carlo Ancelotti ho and also the pressing
so the far
because on your left Ojibo no beji one right. It will be on the weaker foot. A simple crowd.
El Clasico anyway.
Bad the Lewandowski there. But Marco me there unim say Barcelona about big games they are predicting more I just the Barcelona fans in
Sana prediction
yeah me predicted they are 51 for Real Madrid 49 for Barcelona.
Okay.
Me Barcelona me person predicted Barcelona higher chance in big matches. I think say a TF1 team I say